Alright guys, in this video we're going to talk about how to solve an absolute value equation. So, we'll start with this little discussion about Mr. Zalewski. It says that he lives -7 miles away from Grace Lake North High School. What's wrong with this? Well, he lives 7 miles behind Grace Lake North High School, or maybe under Grace Lake North High School? No, when it says that he lives, like, the negative part doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You can say he lives 7 miles away, but this negative is kind of a problem. So when you talk about someone's distance, you're talking about the absolute value of their distance in general. You could talk about something being 7 down, 7 left versus 7 right, and so the negative might come into play with those. But most of the time we're talking about the absolute value of it. Alright, so we'll start with a very easy, quick one. So the absolute value of x equals 10. Now, if you remember from the last one, we talked about this being a distance from 0 a lot of times. I think it's almost easier algebraically, but think about what numbers work. What number, the absolute value, what number is 10? Well, one number would be 10, because the absolute value of that, this distance from 0, is 10. There's another one that has a distance of 10, and that's negative 10. How do we apply my number line? You put little dots at the two answers. Algebraically. Okay, well, the way of thinking about this is the number is either the positive 10 or the number is the negative 10. It can't be both. It's not and. It can't be two different numbers at the same time, but it's one of them or the other. There are two solutions to this equality. Alright, same thing with the 4. Right? Absolute value of x equals 4, so if you're talking about the distance from 0, 4 has an absolute distance from 0 of 4, and negative 4 also has an absolute distance from 0 of 4. And algebraically, this is somewhat silly. X equals 4, or x equals negative 4. Number inside equals 4, or the number inside could be the negative 4. Alright, let's try to make it a little bit tougher. Let's run through a couple of the togethers. I'll leave you the you tries for yourself. Now, remember if this was x equals 10, was the absolute value of x equals 10, you said the inside, which in this case is x minus 5, equals 10, or the inside equals negative 10. So either x equals 10 or x equals negative 10, right? No difference. X can be anything. X can be 5, well in this case it can be 10 or negative 10, but it's an unknown. So x minus 5 is the unknown. So that unknown equals 10, or that unknown equals negative 10. The biggest mistake students make here is they see the absolute value of this and say, oh, well I have to make that a plus. And yes, you are changing the sign, but you're only changing the sign on the number that it equals, which seems backwards. I'm trying to explain why that's not so weird. It's the absolute value of 5 minus 4. Well, 5 minus 4 is 1, and so the absolute value of 1 is 1. You don't turn this into 5 plus 4. That would be kind of crazy. That would be 9. So that's not the same. This absolute value equals 1, not 9. So do not change the sign in between these two. You have to do that first, and then you can change the sign. Okay. So what do? Well, we just solve them. Plus 5, plus 5, so x equals 15. Plus 5, plus 5, or x equals, well, negative 10 plus 5 should be negative 5. And then you check it. So if I plug in 15, 15 minus 5 is 10. Absolute value of 10 is 10. If I plug in negative 5, so let me show you that one. Absolute value of negative 5 minus 5, that equals negative. Absolute value of negative 10, which is 10, and we've checked it. So, all these problems you should check. I'll do the other one too. 15 minus 5. I mean, I did it verbally, but here it is. 15 minus 5 is 10. Absolute value of 10 is 10. Alright, let's try example 5 here. So, when the absolute value of x equals a number, you set that number x equals that number or the negative of that number. Here's a problem. There's this 1 here. So before we can do anything else, we have to move the 1 over. And before I do that, I'm actually going to move the screen up before I run out of space. So move over the 1. Absolute value of x minus 4 equals 2, and then we go for it. So we split it. And a lot of times when I do this, I actually just put a line down the page, and then I go, okay, well here's the positive version, and here's the negative version. Sometimes I think that the other thing to think of is the absolute value. There's 2 lines, so there's 2 solutions, one here and one here. Okay? I'm really surprised how many people just forget to do this. And they'll do this, and they'll just drop the absolute values as if they weren't there to begin with. I feel like they gotta be telling you something. When you solve them, it's kind of boring because it's the same equation on the left, so you get rid of 4 the same way both times. So x equals 6, and x equals 2, or not and. So we want to check them. That's a value of 6 minus 4 plus 1, so that's 2, x value 2 plus 1, so 2 plus 1 is 3, checks out. Try out the 2. 2 minus 4 plus 1, so 2 minus 4 is negative 2. The absolute value of negative 2 is 2, so 2 plus 1 is 3, checks out. Alright, so if there's a number out here, so plus 1, you subtract it over. If there's a minus 3, you're going to add that over the other side about 2 times. Now, some people want to distribute the 2 in, and that actually will be okay. But I'm going to tell you not to. Because, example 8, if you distribute a negative 3 into the absolute value, you will lose the negative symbol. It will just disappear. Because the absolute value itself cancels out negatives. So you can't sneak a negative inside of an absolute value. That's a no-no. So in order to avoid doing that, I want you to divide by 2. So 2 times the absolute value. You want that 2 gone, so we cancel it out. X minus plus 3 equals 2, and then we split them up. X plus 3 equals 2, and x plus 3 equals negative 2. And hopefully you could finish this off. So you should pause this, finish the problem. When you're done, restart it, and see if you can get the right answer. So hopefully you got those 2 numbers. And we can check them really quick. To the absolute value of negative 1 plus 3. So 2 absolute value of 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, works out. And we want to check 5. So 2 absolute value of negative 5 plus 3. So that gave me 4. So it's 2 absolute value of negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Absolute value of negative 2 is 2. So 2 times positive 2 is 4. Yes, works out. Now, there is a reason why we're checking some of these. And I'm trying to just spot check to see if any of these problems later on the page issues, but sometimes they don't work. So you gotta be really careful. Now, let's try example 9. It's got 2 parts to it. We'll probably do 10 also. So, what's first? So, are we going to divide everything by 2, or are we going to add the 2 over? Now, you actually have the choice. But if I divide everything by 2, I'd have to divide this by 2 as well. A lot of times people forget this one. So, my step is always to move over this loose minus 2 to the other side first. Anytime you can do that, you want to. Now we're going to divide by 2. So there's only 2 parts to this, and so there's only 2 things to divide by. Alright, you should pause it here, see if you can work it out, and then resume when you got it. Hopefully you split up into 2 equations, x minus 4 equals 3, and x minus 4 equals negative 3, and we solve it. So x equals 7, or x equals 1. So let's see here. 2. The absolute value of 7 minus 4 minus 2. So this is 2, absolute value of 3. So 6 minus 2 is 4. Sounds good. And we put 1. To absolute value of 1 minus 4 minus 2. So 2, absolute value of negative 3 minus 2. And again, the absolute value of a negative is a positive, so it's 2 times a positive 3, or 6 minus 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. It works. Alright, I want to do 10 as well, just because something kind of weird happens here. No, it doesn't. I lied. Let you have 10 all on your own. So it's a little tougher, but there's nothing too strange going on there. You get a 1, I thought you get a 0. But there's one more that I want to talk to you about before we go. It's actually in the homework. Let's turn the page up. It's number 2 here. So 2, I think there's some stuff that happens later on too that kind of is a problem. It's got a star. You should know that there's an issue. And I'm hoping you think it's a negative there. Hoping that you notice that there's a star too. First thought here is we're going to split up into 2 equations, one positive, one negative. So x equals, most people probably do negative 10, and then x equals 10. That sounds great. There's a problem. If you plug them in, they won't work. That's the value of negative 10. Is that going to get me a negative 10? No, that gives me 10. It doesn't work, so this one's out. The absolute value of 10. Does that give me negative 10? Nope, so this one's out. There is no solution to this. Now think about this logically. The absolute value, the distance from 0 is negative 10. Does it make sense to have a distance of negative 10? It doesn't. This just doesn't make sense. There is no solution to this equation. So you always want to watch for, does the absolute value ever equal a negative number? Now it could be something more complicated, like 3x minus 5 equals negative 4. The second you see that the absolute value equals a negative, there's no solution. You do not have to solve it and check it. You can get to this point and say, oh, yeah, no solution. And you can point to that negative 4 if you want. Now here's the part you got to be careful about. It has to be in this form. The absolute value equals a negative. Number 6 looks like that, doesn't it? Yeah, an absolute value equals, oh, there's a negative. So some people want to put up no solution right away. It's not though. You got to divide by negative 2 first. Absolute value of x plus 1 equals 5. Oh, now I get the absolute value equaling a positive number. Now that's generally actually the only time you really have to check. It's always good to check to see if you made mistakes. But if you didn't make any mistakes, you still have this little bit. So always should check your work. If you're done with the test early, you should go back and check your work. But, however, if the absolute value equals a negative, it's no solution right away. So, viewer, be careful.